Well, fuck me.
It's always spooky.
All right, brass tacks.
Oh, yes.
Today, we're talking about probably, I would say, my favorite zombie movie.
Yeah, I have to say this one was really impressive. I think my favorite, and it's not a horror movie, but my favorite will always be Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead is really good. That's a horror comedy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well,
I would call it a comedy horror.
Yeah, it's really fucking stupid, but it's perfect.
But entertaining as fuck.
Entertaining as fuck.
Absolutely.
And the zombies in this movie are kind of like a happy medium between like a 28 Days Later zombie and a Shaun of the Dead zombie, because they're rabid.
Yeah.
They're trying to get you, but they're also kind of dumb.
Yes, I do like that. I like that comparison because they very much are like, it's not that they're easily fooled. It's that they have very clear weaknesses that are easily exploitable.
Exactly.
In the movie. And because it's in such a claustrophobic setting, kind of makes a lot of the tactics in this movie really clever.
Yeah. I also want to iterate that, like, it's not that they're dumb because of one of their obvious major weaknesses. It's that even if they have like their hand on a tool, they don't know how to use it.
Yeah, they don't have the sentience to know how to use it.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And so just to not to stall any longer, we're going to do 2016's Train to Busan, the South Korean horror film.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably butcher a lot of these names, but we're just going to try our best. First, I'll do the title card. Black background, white title, just Train to Busan. I'm assuming it's in Korean, so I can't read it. But that's what I would assume it is.
And even with subtitles on, all of the intro information, there were no subtitles.
Yep.
So I don't know any, like, if they were trying to say, oh, on this date, this happened, or like anything like that, I don't know what any of it was.
I 100%, agree with you. They don't give you the translation for the cast and crew that appears on screen in the cold open because they're not going to translate it for you.
Yeah.
The tagline for this, I couldn't find this on IMDb, so I had to like look on the poster itself, but it says "Get on board to stay alive."
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
So director is Yong Sang-ho. Gong Yu plays Seok-woo, dad. Jung Yu-mi plays Seong Kyung, plays the pregnant wife. Ma Dong-seok plays Song-hwa. I call him the badass dad. What did you call him?
I got nicknames for all of them.
Oh, sick. Okay. Yeah. Then I did Kim Suwon. So the little girl, Suwon, that's her actual name. I thought that was kind of cute.
That is cute.
We got So-hee, who was a Korean pop star. She's playing Jin-hee, the cheerleader.
Yeah.
And then you've got Choi Woo-sik, who plays Young-gook, the baseball player, who like lives most of the way through the movie. Spoiler alert. And then finally, I put Kim Wee-sung, who plays Young-suk, the CEO asshole.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just felt like he was important to highlight. There were a couple of other characters that you kind of focus on, like the two sisters and whatnot, but just for brevity, like I was just like, all right, I'm just going to put these guys.
Yeah, I only put like the main four.
Yeah, right.
And I think it's because coming off of a few episodes back where we were covering it, and there's 7 main characters and then 2 like secondary characters, or 3 secondary characters. I've been trying to make things a little bit more concise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just did the main 4. So for Seok-woo, who is the father, I wrote hot TM. For the daughter, Suan, I did sweet baby.
Oh.
For Song-hwa, I wrote arms. And then for Song Kyung, I believe is her name, I wrote Hot Mama.
Hot Mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody in this movie is beautiful. Gorgeous actors.
100%. Except for the asshole CEO.
Yeah, except for asshole CEO and a lot of its personality.
So 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could imagine he was probably cute. The last bit of metadata that I have is the budget. I just thought this was kind of interesting because on IMDb, they put the estimated currency as South Korean currency, which is won. And it was like It was like 10 with 9 zeros. 10 billion won, maybe.
This
Which
was $1 trillion.
$1
Exactly.
But I went on Google. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I went on Microsoft Bing. Sorry, Microsoft. And I like used a calculator to convert 10 billion won to US dollars, which is about 6.8 million. So
Okay.
it cost about $6.8 million to make this movie.
Which I feel like in terms of American cinema, that's kind of standard.
Yeah. It really doesn't seem like that
Actually,
much
maybe even
money.
a little low budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For how big it was.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, like, there wasn't a ton of CGI.
No,
Not a ton of it.
there were like a few really dialed in generated scenes.
Yeah.
But there weren't a lot.
A lot of it was done practically. Opening weekend in US and Canada, this only made $284,000.
Oh, but it's, yeah, I mean, US and Canada, we really don't get as much exposure to Korean film as we should.
And I would be curious to know how many theaters this was playing in too. This
Yeah.
was July 24th of 2016. Gross US and Canada is just over $2 million, and gross worldwide is $92 million. So obviously it did better in probably European and Asian countries than
Yeah.
it did in the United States, because overall it vastly improved its budget. Like it easily made up all of that money and more.
Yeah. I did do a brief synopsis.
Perfect.
A father and daughter board a train just as a viral outbreak wreaks havoc on the country. Now they are trapped in a race against time to reach the end of the rail and hopefully their safety.
Mm-hmm.
For themes, I wrote broken families, viral outbreaks, zombies, and the conflict between selfishness and selflessness.
Yes, I like that. I mean, survival is
Yeah.
another one too. Just like what you would do to survive. Sometimes that's giving into your baser instincts and forgetting about other people.
Yeah, and it's highlighted a few times throughout this film where kind of secondary characters will point out that Seok-woo is super selfish and they fault him for that. But then there's also a couple characters that are incredibly selfless and they get faulted for that as well.
Absolutely.
And it's cool to see the dynamic between the two of them where it's like, it's relative. It depends on what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just everybody's experience to a flight or fight situation is different.
Yeah.
And shouldn't really be demonized.
No. There's obviously the super wrong way to respond to something.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
I'm thinking of a couple of very particular scenes.
yeah. Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of wrong ways, but there's a few very big wrong ways to respond to something.
Is it clear?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah. Not a zombie in sight, bro. You go first.
Yeah. Oh man.
Anyway, shall we get into it?
Yeah, there were a couple of things that I wanted to point out. This movie was beautifully filmed. Gorgeous. Like the practical effects were wonderful. They looked real while still instilling fear and being very, oh, that's a zombie. Like you didn't have to question it.
Yeah.
It was very apparent who was infected and who wasn't. And as we said, like a lot of the effects were practical. And even the ones that weren't like tacky CGI. It was really well done.
No. And it was mostly like if a bunch of zombies were like piling over each other,
Yeah.
or if they were like falling out of a second story window or falling through glass. Like it was very, like they weren't doing it just for the sake of it. They were really
No.
finding the right moments to use it. I really liked a lot of the physical acting that some of the zombies had to do.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying with like 28 Days Later, where they like have that very kind of like violent transformation. They go to all these like contortions and they'll have like a seizure. And then most of the time what these zombies will do is they'll do like a full like 360 somersault on the ground, and then they'll stand up, and it just looks so creepy and cool at the same time. You're just like, I can tell that somebody did that. Like either they shot it in reverse, they shot it and then they like reversed it, or somebody actually physically did that.
Yeah.
And like that's what's kind of cool.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot of physical change other than kind of the weird contortion movements, like that sort of thing. And they become very vascular and their eyes fog over. Otherwise, they look pretty much the same.
Yeah, like some of them start to bleed from their mouths a little bit. I kind of wonder what that was about. Because one thing I was talking to Harrison about that I found really interesting about these zombies is that you notice some zombies, like in The Walking Dead, they're brainless and they just want to consume. Right? They just want to get super, super fat and just eat as much as possible. And so as long as like they're eating a meal, they're distracted. But these zombies, kind of similar to the 28 Days Later zombies, they're just looking to spread the disease like as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So it's like they'll bite somebody and sometimes they'll hold on for a minute, but then almost very quickly they'll detach and they'll go and attack somebody else.
Yeah.
I also noticed that some of the zombies would change faster depending on where they were bitten. Like people who got bit in their extremities, their hands, their legs, whatever, like it took maybe a couple of minutes, 5 minutes tops, like for them to transform. But then people that like got bit on the neck or got bit like in the chest or got bit like on the shoulder, it would take a lot less time for them to like flip over. And I'm sure it has to do with it getting to your brain probably.
Yeah, that was a refreshing take on the transformation, because in a lot of movies it's kind of like somebody gets attacked by a zombie, they get bit, and then you see them like fully have to die and then they start to transition.
And like,
And in this one, a lot of the time it was really quick, but you don't actually see the person die. They're very much still alive for most of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then they just kind of switch into...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like their heart stops beating and they go dead and then they come back to life. It's like they go through this like most of them have that kind of like, you know, they go limp for a second and then they cock back and come, but it's very quick. It's not like a slow, drawn out process.
Yeah. One quick thing that I wanted to point out was in the very beginning of the film, you get a little bit of an inkling of what's going on because a gentleman pulls up in a truck and they're spraying down his truck at like a checkpoint. They're spraying down his truck and he's like, oh, what are we doing? Why do we have to sanitize everything now? And they're like, a virus escaped from this research facility. It's probably nothing, but we just have to make sure that everything's safe. And he's complaining about like, I swear if I lose more pigs because of this. So it's a regular occurrence, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But as he's driving through the checkpoint, he gets the all clear and gets going and he hits a deer. And then you see the streak on the road that his truck leaves and the camera slowly pans over and you see the deer and it's dead, but it very quickly wakes back up.
Yeah, after he leaves.
Yeah.
And I think that was I actually wrote down the good deer CGI because you can tell that that's obviously CGI, but it was done very well. Like it looked very, very real to me.
Yeah, that was a really cool effect that they did. And it was a nice little like welcome into what you're about to see.
Oh, yeah. It's a great nod too that like quite a few diseases, especially virus-borne diseases, spill over.
Yeah.
From animals into humans. And so I kind of liked that aspect too. Like they don't address that at any other point in the movie. You know, like in Contagion, the virus came from like a market in China, like a pig market in China. And in an outbreak, it came from a monkey that came from Africa. And so like often viruses have this kind of transmission phase where they start in some type of animal, and by having enough exposure to humans it mutates enough that like it can start to affect us too. And so I like that it nodded to that, but it didn't really bring it back at any point.
Yeah, it kind of left it up in the air of did this start at the research facility and immediately go to people, or did it immediately go to animals, or were they testing on animals and it spilled over? Like it left that part a little ambiguous.
It did.
Yeah.
They did on a second watch give you a little bit of context, but not really about like what the end all be all, like how the virus itself started. And it was when the dad, Sok-woo, he's constantly checking in with one of his assistants. And at the very beginning of the movie, he gets a call from like probably a higher up that tells him some bad news and tells him, you just need to liquidate everything that we have. We need to get ahead of whatever this damage is. And then when he tells his assistant, like, sell all that stuff, and his assistant's like, wait a second, this is going to have severe repercussions. And he's like, hey, I told you to do your job, go do it. And then later on, like when he calls that same coworker back and he's crying and he's like, did we cause this? Is this because of us?
Yeah.
Is this our fault? So I'm kind of curious what it actually was. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of appreciate that they didn't spell it out for you.
Yeah.
They just kind of gave you enough of an inkling that like this could have been a man-made problem or even like a military problem. It almost seemed kind of like an I Am Legend, right? Where they like wanted to cure cancer, but then they created vampires.
Yeah. That's it. I do like that it kind of leaves it up in the air.
I appreciate that. I like it when movies don't spell everything out for you because I'm an adult. I don't need that kind of context now.
No.
I can be fine not knowing the answer.
Yeah. I'm down to leave it up to my imagination, you know? Yeah.
And it feels more realistic that way because like sometimes you don't have all the answers.
yeah.
Right? Like
One other thing that I wanted to point out just before we get into the meat of it is I have to admit that I'm not very familiar with what the scenery in Korea looks like.
Yeah.
And so I would see some of the scenes that you could look out the windows of the train or they would show more of a landscape view or anything like that. And was like, this is really beautiful. Like the spaces that they're going through are gorgeous. And so I started looking up some of the cities that they mentioned as like, oh, here's a stop, those sorts of things.
right.
And the areas that they were going through in South Korea in real life are gorgeous.
Aw.
And they very much reflected what they were showing in the film. Now I'm like, I kind of want to go see it.
I mean, that's super cool because, a lot of this film is filmed inside of this train.
Yeah.
So it's very, very few like landscape shots that you really get. And even in kind of like the final ending bit when they land at the train station, like it's very industrialized and there's a bunch of fire and zombies everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool to look it up. And even for them to mention Busan, I'm like, I wonder what that looks like. And so I Googled image searched it real quick. And it's like a gorgeous coastal community where there's definitely city and industry, but it's built on this coastline with all these rolling hills behind it and everything. And I'm like, I kind of want to go there. That's gorgeous.
Absolutely.
And, preferably without zombies.
You'd probably be pretty safe now. I don't really know what traveling looks like right now, though. Holy shit.
Yeah, I don't really want to get on an airplane anytime soon.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, do you want to start with your favorite scenes? Maybe
Yeah.
honorable mentions if you want to start with those first.
Yeah, I have 2 honorable mentions. And for my first one, there are a few scenes. So this is kind of a collection. But there are a few scenes where the infected people are kind of tumbling over one another in various areas. And it looks like just this rolling wave of zombies that's coming toward the main characters. And this, even though you can tell that that's CGI, it's really well done CGI. And I thought it was just kind of funny in the way that it does just look like a wave of people.
Right.
But it was just so well done that I felt like it needed to be shouted out.
No, I agree with you. I like that besides the very ending part with like the giant, we'll call them a dog pile of zombies that hold on to the back of the train and start to slow it down. That's the only one where you kind of like suspend belief a little bit and you're like, okay, that's just kind of silly a little bit. But I felt like whenever you see those rolling, like, kind of like a wave of zombies coming through, or you had like a bunch of them falling out of a window, I appreciated how realistic it looked.
Yeah.
Because it didn't look like World War Z,
No.
where you just had like fucking millions of zombies just piling on top of each other, and it just looks like some weird video game that you're playing.
Yeah.
It
was
looked
like
realistic.
all people you had seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's in a very enclosed space. And, if we're thinking about how many people fit on a train between all of these cars, it's probably less than 100 people.
Yeah. And while these waves looked like a ton of people, it was really just the people that were on the train for the most part. And it was just that they were so active and running so quickly that they were just piling on top of one
tumbling.
another.
Yeah, they were just tumbling over one another. Yeah.
Yeah. My second honorable mention is there's a scene where you're seeing things outside. And I want to say, I can't remember the exact setup, but they're talking about how there's military presence going around trying to get everything under control for the most part.
Oh, like when they're trying to figure out where to stop?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they just do a quick outside scene where you see some helicopters fly over really quick and then zombies start falling from the helicopters.
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious. So I had to
That
point
was a pretty
out.
good scene. I think Harrison had asked me, he was like, do you know why they were dropping zombies from those helicopters? And I was like, no, they weren't dropping them. Like they were probably trying to escape in the helicopters and the zombies were just grabbing onto the sides and they were falling because they were just like their grip was slipping.
Yeah.
They were just falling into the parking lot.
It was just such a good little thud.
And they get up and they just immediately start attacking these skateboarders that are just trying to film their TikToks.
Yeah. And then for my actual favorite scene, the scene where Arms gets infected. So in this moment, they have ran through a couple of cars now, getting their way through a couple hordes of zombies to try to reconnect with the other people who are still well. And they get to kind of the final car that's separating them and the rest of the group. And they have to bust through a door. They get through one, and then they're trying to close the second door behind it. But there are a couple of infected people who have gotten through, and they're kind of like reaching through the door, and they're having a hard time closing it. And so
This is Arms and the dad.
yeah, this is Arms and Hot.
Well, actually, it's mostly Arms because the dad is
Yeah.
on the opposite side trying to open the door.
Yeah,
Because you back up a little bit because like there were basically three groups because you had the whole group. Everybody got off the train. They had to get back on and they got fragmented.
yeah,
So it was like the main group, we'll call them the paranoid group. And then you have like mostly the women and then the homeless man. And then you have like Arms and dad and the baseball kid.
yeah,
And those three have to battle their way to the women and the homeless guy. And then those six have to get to the paranoid group with this horde of zombies that is slowly amassing them, through the cars. And so they have to get through one door. And like you said, they got jammed up where like they can't close it all the way. So they're trying to close that door. And then on the opposite side, baseball kid's trying to open the other door. And the paranoid group doesn't want them to come through
yeah,
because they don't know if they're infected or not. And at this point, they're willing to sacrifice anybody for the good of the ones that they know are safe.
yeah.
So they're basically like barring them from coming in. So I really liked this scene too, and I'm glad you're talking about it because I like the duality of
Yeah.
like trying to close one door and trying to open the other door.
Yeah. And while the dad is trying to open one door, he's noticing that like the situation on the other side is getting worse
Yeah.
with trying to close the other door.
Absolutely.
And so he goes over to try to help close that door. But while this is happening, Arms reaches kind of into the door jamb. And when he does, one of the zombies bites him. And so, at that moment, it's over for him. But then as they're struggling to get the door closed, Arms's pregnant wife, Hot Mama, starts walking up behind them, and she's kind of just frozen at that point. You can tell that the fear has overcome her, and she's worried. She's seen her husband having a horrible time trying to get this door closed. And Arms recognizes that he's not going to be able to close the door. And so he tells Dad, hey, take my wife. You guys need to go. And he's still struggling. In that moment, Dad kind of has his turnaround where he's trying not to be selfish and he's trying to help and trying to save him. But he also recognizes like he's kind of a lost cause.
Absolutely.
And so he goes and he grabs Arms's wife and starts bolting toward the other door. And Arms starts to struggle a little bit, and then the zombies start to break through. And as they break through, he's transitioning. And there's just this really beautiful moment where you see his eyes start to fog. You see the vascularity start to come through, and he is resisting it so hard. And he is mid transition, and he is still picking up another zombie and using it as like a shield to push them back as long as he can to try to protect hot dad and hot mama as they try to escape. And just the beauty of that moment where it's his will is so strong that it doesn't matter what this virus is doing, he will push as hard as he can to make sure that those two get to safety.
I know, it's so interesting. Because the only other thing that I would love to highlight about that scene is the resilience of that baseball teen who fucking shoved his arm through that door. I had it like a green room moment where he shoved his arm through that door.
I had
to
a
keep
moment
it open.
with that.
And he didn't, like, by the time hot dad got back to go help, he had his whole body like wedged in that door, and he's like, I'm fucking getting through here one way or another.
There were a few moments in the beginning where I did not like Arms as a character because he tried to instigate as much
very combative.
as he could. Yeah, he was very combative. He talked a lot of shit about hot dad in front of his daughter and that sort of stuff. And that was also the moment where you kind of fall in love with hot mama because he's talking shit about hot dad in front of his daughter. And hot mama's like, don't do that.
Don't say that
in front of his kid. And like that sort of thing. It was just.
And Suwon's just like, he's just saying what everyone's thinking.
Exactly. And it was just really cool to have that moment where those two, who are polar opposite characters, one of them being the example of selflessness, one of them being the example of selfishness, work together, recognize that this isn't working, and then be like, what's going to be the greater good?
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to break off and do this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's very much like a enemies to friends situation where they started off very like charged and they didn't like each other because hot dad is like basically a hedge fund manager and is an asshole. I mean, he is an asshole.
Yeah.
They're most of the movie. And then, you know, Arms is just like a hardworking, like working class man who's just trying to take care of his pregnant wife.
Yeah. And that character dynamic is actually reminiscent of Korean history where there was a big classism issue. And it's supposed to show he has these feelings about the hedge fund manager because people that were of that class treated people of the lower class really terribly.
Right.
Yeah. And that's supposed to highlight the classism.
I got it.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But yeah, that one was easily my favorite scene. Yeah.
That was a great fucking scene. Like I said, I really like the parallel of that scene of just them trying to close the one door and them struggling there and then them also struggling trying to open the other door. And I like it too where like the girl, it's like the cheerleader and the baseball guy, they get separated in this when they get off at, I can't remember what station it is. It starts with a D. The military is supposed to be deployed there. And that's when dad and daughter, he like phones a friend and says, hey, I don't want to go through quarantine. Can you come pick me up? And like, we can just circumvent that. And that's when they find out that the whole place has been overrun. Yeah. So they have to get back on. So I also like in this parallel scene that cheerleader is stuck with the Jinhee. She's stuck with the paranoid group and they're holding her hostage.
Yeah.
They're preventing her from being able to help her friends. And I like when later, like the rest of the group, after Sang-hwa dies, badass dad, they finally get into the compartment and the CEO immediately gets like the rest of the group to like exile the main group to the front of the car.
Yeah.
Which I remember just thinking to myself, I was like, fuck yeah, I'll get further away from the zombies that I was just running from. Yeah, I'll do that. Absolutely. You can stay there and I'll go ahead of you.
Yeah. Please separate me further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, I mean, I would have done the opposite, but that's neither here nor there. It's like, you can actually stay here right by the zombies.
Yeah.
And we'll go into the next car.
Yeah. And that comes right around to bite them in the ass. So
and very quickly, too.
Very quickly.
I kind of love how quickly it comes back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
Yeah. And that moment was so rich. because it's no fault of the machinery. It's nothing to do with the train, anything like that.
It's not
as
to
to
do
why
with,
that
like,
bites
yep.
them in the ass.
Yep.
It's just walks up and opens the door.
It's just pure karma.
Yep.
That's all it is. It's just fucking karma.
And I wanted every fucking moment of this movie. I wanted that CEO to die.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was like, that
everybody
guy's
does.
a piece of shit. Kill him. Like,
The amount of people that he kills is unbelievable.
yeah.
It's unfucking real.
What were your favorites?
So I have quite a few honorable mentions. I got 4. I really liked Seong Kyung's water and newspaper idea. When they realized that the zombies couldn't open the door, the car doors, Seong Kyung picks up a newspaper and she sprays water all over the door and she just puts newspaper up to kind of cover it. And immediately after she does that, the zombies settle down because they can't see the people anymore. So they just assume they're not there. And they realize after that moment, they're like, okay, well, we can just like breathe easy. We don't have to worry about locking the door because they don't know how to open it.
Yeah.
And just hope to God they can't bump it open. So I thought that was a really good one. I honestly, my favorite scenes are always the ones that make me laugh. Towards the beginning of the film, when Seok-woo is about to leave work and he asks his coworker, like, hey, what do kids like these days? And he goes home and he gives his daughter, whose birthday it is the next day, her birthday gift. And she opens it up and it's this, it's a Wii with Super Mario Bros. And she just looks at it like it's the most useless gift she's ever seen. And her dad is just like, what, you don't like it? And I love how she doesn't say a single fucking word, Clark.
Yep.
She just looks up at the other Wii.
I wrote in my notes as I was watching it, oof.
Oof.
Bought her another Wii.
Just like a,
Oh.
Honorable mention is when the group goes to the Dang Yang station and they kind of have that split up moment where most of the group is going down the stairs in the escalator and the zombies come up and they have to run back. And then Suwon is hanging out by that little like restricted section in the east wing and then dad is kind of away from her, right? And so it's when the zombies are coming through and Seok-woo looks back and he sees Suwon and he's trying to run towards her, but there are zombies that are coming right behind her. And you just see Song-hwa, the badass dad, he just comes in with like a flying elbow and he just like elbows that zombie and just like makes him land on the ground. And then the mom comes over and grabs Suwon and they just take off running.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking love that moment. It's that, like, flying elbow.
Yeah.
But personally, my absolute favorite scene from this movie is I called it the trio battle to car 13.
Yeah.
So when they have, like, that stacking moment where, like, it's the baseball kid, it's dad, and then it's Arms. And they decide, like, okay, we're in car 9. We need to get to car 13 because they got a call from the wife. Because it's her, Suwon, I want to say it's one of the old ladies. It's like one of the sisters and the homeless man. And they're stuck in a bathroom. And they have zombies right outside that are like trying to get in.
Yeah.
And so mom calls badass dad and says like, I need you to get here now. And so they're like, okay, we need to go these 4 cars to get there. But there's zombies in every single car. And so they debate for a minute and then I think it's the baseball kid who's doing it first. He's wrapping his arm, his non-baseball arm, in his jacket, and he's covering that in duct tape because they're in one of his cars. I think one of the baseball.
I think
cars.
so. Yeah.
That's also another scene I'd love to talk about too. And so the rest of like both the badass dad and Seok-woo also cover their arms in duct tape, get a bat, get a riot shield, and they just do that little like superhero pose where the 3 of them just stand next to each other. And I love how they go through and they just take care of business.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite scenes in that montage is when they get to the baseball car and it's all of baseball teens' friends and coach. And he just kind of freezes in that moment. Like he can't, attack these zombies because they're his friends.
Yeah.
And so like the other 2 just kind of look at him and they just go, we got it. And they just start going to town, right? And there's a moment where they're both losing. They're both like kind of slowly losing this battle with the zombies. And that's when they go through the tunnel. Because you're like waiting for the baseball team to like snap out of it and go help them.
Yeah.
And then they go through the tunnel and that's when they learn that like when they can't see, they just kind of freak out. Like
Yeah.
they don't know what to go after.
Yeah, they learn that they're driven by sound, not
Yes.
not by sight.
Not by sight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite, the trio battle.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's when it kind of like, because I think why Harrison really likes this movie is because it very much leans into the action a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially with Song Hwa's character. Like he's like the fighter of the group.
And not to trail into trivia territory too quickly, but Ma Dong-suk was Gong Yu's personal trainer.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did write that down. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And sounds about right.
Yeah. I am normally not an action movie person. I feel like it's the same shit every time. And this was actually so well done.
It worked.
It worked really well. It
yeah.
worked really well. I really, really loved it.
Every time
It was cool.
that teenager swung that baseball bat too, like
Yeah.
it was just fucking gold.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about scariest scenes?
So I'll be honest, I didn't pick a scariest scene because I didn't think any of it was really scary.
I kind of felt the same way.
Yeah,
Like
I did pick a saddest.
Yeah, right. Okay. I feel better now.
Yeah, I couldn't come up with one. So
It's because we're dead inside. You realize
it
that,
is.
right?
It
Yeah,
is. Yeah, it's because we're fucked up. But I picked maybe not even the saddest, but I picked what I felt was kind of the pinnacle of the movie.
Sure.
And for me, it was when you're toward the end of the line. This movie does a really cool thing. I really appreciate when this happens, where it kills the main character.
Yep.
And when you're to the point where Hot Dad gets where he gets bitten, and you know that it's the end of the line for the train and him, essentially. There's a little bit of a scuffle between him and the zombie that infects him. He ends up getting rid of the zombie, but then he takes his daughter and Hot Mama and puts them into the front of the car, of the single car that they're riding at this point, puts them into the front and essentially tells his daughter, stay with Hot Mama. It's going to be okay. Tries to calm her down a little bit, knowing that he has to get out of there. And he gets them in the car, shuts the door, goes to the end of the train, and he sits down for a second. And while he's transitioning, his eyes start to fog over. You start to see the veins pop up, but it shows from his perspective for a second, which it's one of the only times in the movie that it's actually like through somebody's eyes. And you see the birth of his daughter and these really touching moments where you see the love that he has for her, even if he doesn't necessarily seem to be the kind of person that expresses it super well.
Yeah.
Like he's work oriented. He provides in the way that he gives financial security to his family.
Yeah.
And you know that this is what's flashing through his eyes as he is dying.
Yeah.
And he has this beautiful moment, and then you just see the camera moves and you see his shadow just fall off the train.
Oh yeah. And it has this
And-
super like dramatic like violin piece
It
that plays
does.
too. Like
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a really well executed scene. And to me, that was just like, one, heart-wrenching, and two, I really love when the main character dies. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, you can appreciate that like this movie starts with a very awesome core cast of characters, and I can also appreciate when like almost all of them die. It's not super realistic that the pregnant woman and the child are the only ones to live, but it is still a very like beautiful ending that like they would be the ones that would be the most coveted and protected.
And I honestly didn't think they were going to live at the last minute, because I thought when they reached the barrier right before
Oh my gosh,
Busan,
right.
I thought they were going to get shot.
And how like would you have liked that ending? Would that have been a good ending where you're just like, okay then.
Right? I kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Because it would have been kind of like fitting.
Yeah.
of just this like shoot first, ask questions later. Not necessarily. Like that's not the whole point of the movie, but that would be the undoing of these two characters is just like the non-verification of life. It's like you couldn't just wait fucking. If they're not running towards you, they're probably not infected.
Well,
Like,
and they've set that precedent because throughout the movie, you see that trying to distinguish whether someone is infected or not, you see that slowly dwindle.
Yeah.
Where initially they're like, oh, no, they're fine. They're fine.
Right.
And then by the time they reach that point, everybody has gotten to the no, nobody's fine. Treat everybody like they're infected.
Absolutely.
And so you think the natural progression would be for the military personnel to just treat them as infected and
Absolutely.
get rid of them.
Just get rid of them. Right.
But then I believe it's Suan starts singing Aloha Oi.
Well, yeah, and that ties back into the beginning of the movie because Dad didn't go to her recital because he was working. And so Grandma filmed it. And in the video, she's singing Aloha Oi, but she doesn't finish it. She sings like half of it and then she trails off. And towards the middle of the movie, because he asks her on the way to the train station, like, hey, I watched the video of you. I watched you sing and like you didn't finish it. And she says, what are you talking about? You weren't there. Like you didn't see it. And he says, just because I wasn't there doesn't mean I wasn't watching. Right.
Yeah.
And so when they're on the train later and they're talking, and I think it's when she tells him like, please don't leave me. Like, please like stop leaving me and just stay here. And that's when she tells him that like, I couldn't finish that song in the recital because it was for you. Like I practiced it for you. And so in the end of the movie, because her dad is now dead, she finishes the song for him.
Yeah.
And it's really like the saving grace. It's what saves them.
It is.
I will back up briefly because I will tell you, like right before Sakwu dies, the most heart-wrenching moment for me is when he goes and he tells Seong Kyung, he's like, okay, pretty sure this is the break. When you get closer and it looks like it's safe, you need to pull on that so you stop and you don't crash anything. And then he quickly just goes, okay, now I got to go talk to my daughter. And at first he really tries to maintain his composure and he's like, I have to go. I'm really sorry. You need to stay with her. And then he very quickly, like she's blubbering and crying and he also just kind of loses it because like he doesn't want to leave her. He doesn't want to like go through this. But at the same time, like just like you said, he knows that he has to make this decision to protect her.
Yeah.
And so he kind of has to have this moment of just like, I have to go. And he just gets up, has to lock her in there and just has to run to the back. He's just like crying the whole time. I was literally watching this with Harrison. I would just like have tears dripping into my lap. I actually wrote down ugly Studio Ghibli tears.
Yeah. No, for real.
Just big fat ones.
And it's like as he's transforming and these beautiful things are flashing before his eyes, he knows he's dying and he has the biggest smile on his face.
He's smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at least in his final moments, you know, he was at least thinking happy thoughts.
Yeah. Ugh. What was your scariest / saddest / best? I don't.
I will be honest with you. I wrote scariest scenes because I was like, I don't really want to change the format of our podcast just because this is like, it's not a scary movie.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It was really hard for me to find scary scenes. I actually wrote down honorable mention. Honestly, this was the only scene in the movie that made me physically jump. And it was the final scene when Suan and Seong Kyung are walking.
Yeah.
And they're walking really slowly because Seong Kyung's at this point is like super tired and very heavily pregnant. And they walk past a zombie and it's just like its hand just like it just moves.
Yeah.
And both of them kind of jump for a second. That's probably the only scene in the movie that made me go,
yeah, that actually got me for a second too, where there is just like
it's just like this,
it's like,
just like a little
the claw. Yeah. And then it just twitches.
It just like, yeah, it just moves ever so like briefly. I also put pile of zombies in the train. Kind of briefly talked about that earlier, as well as like when they were crashing through the window on top of the train, when like everybody's trying to run back. It's like, this is when they get fragmented. It's the girls and the homeless man get on. That's when they find one of the sisters and they get her on. And then everybody else, the 3 boys, are stuck at the top because they're trying to lock the door. And when they come down is when the zombies like start crashing through the windows on top and they're landing on top of the train and coming down.
Yeah.
So put that. And then for my absolute scariest, we've already talked about this scene, but it's when Jungkook gets his arm stuck in the door.
Yeah.
And they're trying to close the other door.
That is definitely the most tense.
Yeah, it's the super high tension scene. I also I like the aftermath of that scene. Senghua dies. They get through the door, they close it, and then the first thing the Sakwu does is he punches the CEO.
Yeah.
He walks up and is just like, "You motherfucker! We could have saved both of them," because it was both Senghua and the other sister who died.
Yeah.
In that scuffle there. I don't know that the homeless man had died yet. No,
I don't think so.
No, he doesn't die till towards the end because he saves the pregnant mom and Suan.
Yeah.
So that's what I had written down for scariest.
Yeah, I tried so hard to come up with one, and I was just like,
I
can't.
Yeah. Well, it's perfect because now we can talk a little bit about trivia.
Yeah.
Before we get into our ratings. You already talked about the personal trainer one. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. Train to Busan is the 6th highest grossing domestic film of all time in Korea.
Nice.
Yeah. Filmmaker Edgar Wright, who directed the BAFTA-nominated zombie comedy Shaun of the Dead, was a big fan of the film. Wright recommended the film in a tweet and called it the best zombie movie I've seen in forever.
Hell yeah.
Which is kind of fun because
Full
you brought it up. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Train to Busan is director Yang Sang-ho's first live-action film. Yeon's previous works were all animated features. They did make an animated sequel. It was just called Soul Station or something like that, but it was supposed to be kind of like a prequel or like a story within a story kind of situation.
Okay.
But then just in 2020, they filmed a sequel that was called I don't remember, but it might be in here. But I actually had heard this year or next year, it looks like they're coming out with like a US adaptation of Train to Busan.
Oh,
where it's like the
interesting.
same story, but
Yeah.
it's like in New York City instead.
I don't feel like we need that.
We don't. But come on,
yeah.
it was bound to happen.
I'm one of those people where I'm like, we didn't necessarily need an American
fucking,
ring either.
no.
And
No,
yeah.
The Grudge.
Yeah.
There's so many of those.
Yeah,
Shudder.
we can leave things where they originate from.
But I'm sure that it's just I hope, if anything, that by creating some type of remake, like a United States remake, will get enough traction and enough of an audience that those people will go back and they'll watch Train to Busan and they'll get a better experience out of it.
Yeah.
Because, even if it's a shot for shot remake of Train to Busan, but it's just with American actors instead, right?
At least, yeah. Yeah, at least it does pull more people over to watch the original.
Yeah, because if you think about it, just the amount of money that it made in the United States and Canada in its opening weekend just probably tells you how few people actually watched it.
Yeah.
Probably even knew it was on the radar.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it until you mentioned it as one of the movies to cover.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. An animated prequel, Soul Station, also directed by Yang Sang-ho, was released less than a month after Train to Busan was released.
Wow.
Less than a month?
Wow.
Jesus.
God damn.
The film recorded more than 11 million moviegoers in South Korea.
Wow. That's 21% of the Korean population watched that movie.
Jesus. I mean, it kind of makes sense for how much money it made worldwide,
Yeah.
right? Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Given that the film was the 9th most successful Korean movie in history, there was instant talk of a sequel, which director Yang Sang-ho instantly refuted. Ironically, he would change his mind 3 years later and start working on Peninsula. That's what it's called, Peninsula. Ma Dong-seok was nominated for a 2017 Asian Film Award in the Best Supporting Actor category for his role as Senghua.
Nice.
Yeah, because he's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I sent a picture of him to Nick and was like, wood. Yep.
Would.
Yep.
Let's see.
He was like, you sent me a picture of a grizzly bear. And I was like, yes.
You're just and I would happily let him break my back.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I'm like, he could easily carry me.
You got to cut that out. All right.
Do I?
The word zombie is mentioned once in this film, which I kind of liked.
Yeah.
They didn't overuse it.
I was trying as we were recording to say more infected people and that sort of thing too, because I noticed they don't really use it. Even with the English dub, they never really said it.
Well, in The Walking Dead, that's like they never say it. They never say the word zombie because like nobody in that universe has ever seen a zombie before. Like there's no movie or TV adaptation of what a zombie is. So like,
Interesting.
that's why they don't call them zombies. They call them everything else under the sun.
One day I'll probably watch The Walking Dead, but I couldn't get past the first few episodes. And I hear it gets really good after that. I was so
It's
bored.
basically like it's just an undead soap opera, for being totally fucking honest. Like it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's just like I feel like there are way, way more other shows that I would give a second watch to before I'd watch The Walking Dead. And I love The Walking Dead. Like I've watched it several times. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that and Game of Thrones were both shows that like I missed the train, and at this point it seems like way too much to try to pick it up.
Yeah, it would be a severe like undertaking. Cause I remember I also missed the boat on Game of Thrones when like it was everybody's water cooler thing that they were talking about. And then I had to catch up by watching like mana recaps on YouTube and just to get the gist of it. And then just like pirating the rest. Just like going on the internet and just like, all right, I can binge 5 hours of this show right now and just get like a brick of content, right? Like,
yeah. Which like 5 hours of that show isn't much of it, is it?
not in the grand scheme of things. Because I want to say in Game of Thrones, there's like 7 or 8. I think there's 8 seasons of that show.
Yeah. And each episode's like an hour, right?
Yeah. Yeah, at least. Well, I mean, if you think about it, because it was made for cable television, it is the same for like The Walking Dead. It's meant for an hour, but like if you cut all the commercials, it's more like 46 minutes.
Okay.
Right? Per episode. So same with like The Walking Dead too. Like I stopped watching The Walking Dead on cable television after season 7, 8, and that went on for like 12 or 13 seasons. So the rest of it I just watched online, like, and just again would just binge 4 or 5 episodes in a row. I'd watch something else or do other things while listening to it, just to like catch up on like the storyline.
Yeah.
Because lots of times, like, you could tell for cable television how shows would kind of pad time. You'd have these episodes that like wouldn't really amount to anything, but they had to like make content for that 46 minutes that you were watching it.
Yep, the fillers.
The last 2 pieces of trivia that I'll give you here. It's currently in production, being remade, changing the destination to New York and presumably the country to the United States, language to English. The new title will be The Last Train to New York and will have director Timo Tadjanto and writer Gary Dauberman.
I don't know if I've heard of them. Timo sounds really familiar.
He did the second VHS movie.
Oh, okay.
VHS 2, Killers, VHS 94, The Night Comes for Us. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've seen a couple. He did the ABCs of Death. Like I've seen a couple of things that he's done. I don't know when that one's coming out. I think you can actually, if you go onto IMDb, I don't want to do it right now. You can look up Last Train to New York and something does pop up. It says remake of the 2016 Korean film Train to Busan about a father traveling with his daughter on a train during a zombie outbreak. And it just says it's in pre-production right now. So it doesn't have any other information about it.
Okay.
But it's got 3 production companies on board, so they must be at least in some kind of stage. If they're not hiring actors at this moment, they're like working on the screenplay or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're going to cover it. So
maybe at some point. Holy
Yeah.
shit. There's so many things we can cover.
Yeah, that's job security.
Yeah, right? Oh, shit. We got to do our ratings.
Yeah.
I want to know what your weapon is.
That I was having a really hard time with that too, because it's hard with zombie movies because things don't really die.
Remember, it doesn't have to kill somebody. It just has to be used as a weapon.
Oh, yeah,
It doesn't have to kill anybody.
That's true. Well, then in that case, my weapon is going to be Sang-hwa's arms.
Yeah, right? The duct taped forearms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just, you know what? Sang-hwa as a person.
Yes.
Yeah.
The paladin that he is.
Yes. He will be my weapon.
Mm-hmm. And he is a fucking weapon.
He is a fucking
unit.
weapon. Yeah. God damn.
He's built like a brick shit house.
For real. That don't say it, Clark. So so for quality.
Happily in a relationship. Happily in a relationship.
Yep. Nick would say the same thing.
Committed.
So for quality, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. There are just a couple of times where the CGI is a little like, that's a little much.
Yeah.
But it's very minimal. So it really only took a little bit out. So I did two things. I did scary rating and sad rating.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So for scary rating, I did a 1. It's not really scary. Like if you're somebody who's scared by like just blood in general, then maybe.
Yeah. Or like my existential dread is being in a fight or flight situation with a small child. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, then that makes sense, you know? But on the other side of that, sad rating was a 4 out of 5. The only thing they could have done differently would be kill the kid, and it would have been sadder.
Yeah. Or the pregnant woman.
Or the pregnant woman.
Yeah. If she would have like also had like either that child, if she would have had that kid in the movie, or had an abortion, right? Where like her body got so stressed out. That also would have brought it to a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, that would have brought it to a 5 out of 5. When I was talking about it at work, I was like, ooh, this end scene kind of looks like they're gonna do a The Road situation, but the novel where they kill everybody, not the movie where they didn't have the guts to kill the kid. But I was like, oh, they did the movie, they didn't kill the kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have brought it to a 5. And then for rewatchability, I gave it a 4 out of 5 because even watching a dub, which normally I don't like to do, I still really enjoyed it. And I kind of already want to watch it again because I'm sure there are certain things that I missed from watching it at work.
Absolutely.
And I want to just have a full sit through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And not have to stop every fucking 15 minutes because somebody's coming up and can't decide what kind of coffee they want when they come every day.
My weapon is a baseball bat.
Perfect.
Because, like I'm saying, every time Young-guk hit a zombie with that fucking baseball bat, I like wanted to whoop and cheer. It, like just, it was so crisp and so good. So mine is definitely a baseball bat.
It was very satisfying.
I'm going to be pretty biased in my rating.
Yeah.
I love this fucking movie.
Yeah.
So for quality, I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's one of the best zombie films I've ever seen. I like it because it does have some truly kind of like thrilling moments that I could see that would be scary, but it's also very clever. Yeah. It has great character development. It is both like a movie that's like telling this narrative of like the undead and this fight for survival, but then also on top of it, it has these layers of what's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like in a state of panic and disaster, what is the right thing to do versus like what do your instincts tell you to do? Yeah,
there is a level of like a morality debate that's going on.
Yes. Yeah. And they address it several times in the film.
Yeah.
And then like you were saying earlier, I love almost all of the characters in this film.
Yeah.
Right? Where like, even if it's so tragic to watch 90% of them die, I just love like rewatching it for that reason.
I love a couple of things that you pointed out. First, thinking about the character development aspect of it, there is a lot of character development with pretty much every one of them in the time span of a couple hours on a train.
Yeah.
Like, very, very short amount of time.
Absolutely.
And you still see somebody transition from selfishness to selflessness. Mm-hmm. You see somebody sacrifice themselves to save somebody that they didn't even like in the first place. You see a lot of cool things within a very short window.
Yeah. And I like how it's not, that character development is not really devoted just to one character or a small handful of characters. It's devoted to most of them.
Yeah.
Like the only one who doesn't really change throughout the entire movie is the CEO.
And that leads into my second point, which was, I like how you said it's sad to see like 90% of them die, knowing that like the one is him. Like, yeah.
Well, and like, you know, you only end up with two characters that are left over. And even if like the rest of the characters I really liked, maybe the exception of the homeless man, but only because you didn't really get too much of his story other than him just kind of like being an opportunist and being all about survival for the most part, up until that final moment where he decides like, I'm going to sacrifice myself in order to save these two ladies. Like, I'm not going to let them take my spot.
Yeah.
So for quality, I gave it a 5 out of 5. For scariness, I gave it a 2 out of 5. And I probably only gave it a 2 just because of like the idea of having like little Suan with me and having to take care of her
Yeah.
during this like outbreak situation, and how stressful that would be. For like sadness scale, this is a pretty... I cry more during this movie than any other emotion
Yeah.
that I feel. Like there are so many situations that I can think of where like I shed at least one tear, if not had fully like...
Yeah.
So for sadness, I'd also go with you. I'd give it more like 4, maybe a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
And the rewatchability, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I always know I'm in for a good time with this movie. It's
Yeah.
fun and entertaining throughout like the majority of it, throughout all of it, I have to say. I like the details that are put in there, and I like how like kind of tropey the characters start, and then they all kind of get this really nice development throughout. Like
Yeah.
one detail that I'm going to bring up that I found really funny, because it's one that like you will kind of miss if you're not reading the subtitles. But towards the beginning of the movie, when Sakwoo gets that bad phone call from his boss, and he calls in his assistant, he's like, send Kim in, and Kim comes in, and he's like, I need you to sell all the assets. And Kim's like, well, that's going to have detrimental effects. And he says, Kim, do you work for the Lemmings? That's like his line. And Kim's like, no, and so he leaves. And later in the movie, I'm going to say maybe halfway through the movie, Dad's like looking on his phone, right? And he opens a little like category in his phone, like a little folder in his phone, and it's a bunch of contacts, and they're all called Lemmings. And I remember when both Harrison and I read that, we're just like, he is a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
like,
he's a dick.
But anyways, that's my ratings. That's it for Train to Busan.
I like it. I'm really glad that you suggested this movie, because this was a thrill. Truly.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And it doesn't feel long.
Not even a little bit. No, it's very, very entertaining. Great date night movie.
Great. Yeah.
Great date night
Awesome.
movie. Mm-hmm. Yep. Highly, highly recommend it, especially if you've never seen it before. I definitely want to check out Seoul Station.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that it came out less than a month after this one was released.
I will always advocate for watching a movie in its native tongue and just read subtitles.
Yep.
But if you're not the kind of person that enjoys that, there is an English dub. Both of them are available on Amazon Prime. So just
do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's no excuse not to.
Yeah. All right. So what have you been doing for the last week?
I haven't been doing a ton. Switching to the 410 schedule kind of fucked me up. But over last weekend, I did finish a book. It was called Steps by Jerzy Kosinski.
Uh-huh.
And it's weird. It's really weird.
Yeah.
This author approached this book in the way that they created a bunch of short stories that some of them kind of tie together, but most of them don't.
Yeah.
And it's kind of pseudo autobiographical, where some of them are reflective of his actual experience. Some of them really aren't. Mm-hmm. And it's just a really interesting take on writing a novel.
Okay.
But it was really good. It was really good. Strange, but good.
What was it called again?
It's called Steps.
Steps.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it fiction?
It kind of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a mix.
Okay.
Technically, yes, it is fictional, but it is also a reflection of his real life.
Got it. Got it.
Other than that, we went rock climbing yesterday, and it was such a good time.
Yeah.
I feel like yesterday, maybe a mix of the two, but primarily yesterday is what is really giving me the bug. Like
the climbing bug?
Yeah, I really want to keep doing it. It was really cool to tell myself before we even got there, like, I feel pretty determined today that I'm going to reach the top.
Yeah.
And I'm terribly afraid of heights, and I still went in. I had told myself I was going to do it, and I did it.
And you did it twice.
And I did it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And The first time I think was just out of pure audacity. Like I was just like, I already told myself I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then the second time I'm pretty sure was just because I couldn't let it win. And I had tried the route once before, only got part way.
Yeah.
And when we were going around looking for routes again, I was like, I don't like that one won.
Yeah. You're like, I have to show it up now.
Yeah. So I had to go win. And I did it. And I left part of my shin on the wall. But it was a really fucking good time. And I love going and doing that with you because I get to see you in your element doing your thing. You're also really good at making people feel comfortable and confident in those spaces.
Yeah.
And I was raving about the experience enough when I got home that Mom was even like, I kind of want to give that a shot.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I love converting people into rock climbing. It's the best feeling ever.
Yeah. And also, I didn't really get to experience this much when I was going to PRG for bouldering and lifting.
Right.
But the top rope community there really is a community.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
People just, whether you know one another or not, you just kind of like bullshit while you're there, or you like comment on different routes and that sort of thing.
Yeah, everybody's very open and very friendly. Like, I make so many friends every time I go rock climbing.
Yeah. And like at a standard gym, I want nothing to do with anybody else there.
I know,
like,
right?
I don't want to talk to people. I don't want people to approach me. I just want to do my thing and leave.
Yep.
And it was really cool to be in a space where, one, I'm a noob. So like anything that I can get off of people, I'm going to take.
Yeah.
But to be able to just bullshit with somebody or be like, hey, that route was really cool. You should do it.
What did you think? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or have you done this yet? Oh my gosh, you should.
It was so cool to have community.
No, I like that you bring that up because I kind of feel like when you're weightlifting, it's kind of like the same thing every time.
Yeah.
Picking it up and putting it down.
Yep.
But when you look at rock climbing, everybody can climb the same route, but they're all going to do it in a different manner.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of fun about it is like it's a different puzzle for everybody, even if it's the exact same format every time.
Yeah, because like, sure, once the puzzle is all together, it's the same result.
Yeah.
But there's so many different ways to get there.
Absolutely. Especially with some of the easier routes. Like when you start getting into some of the harder grades, there is still flexibility. Sometimes people might get up the route one way that like the route setter did not intend for them to, right? But a lot of times the harder grade that you go, the route setters wanted you to take a very particular route. And so they make it very challenging to like go outside of that bubble, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like you start with like 5-6 through 5-8 where you just have like too many holds. So many holds. You got 5 foot holds. Pick one. You can have whichever one you want, and you get the same amount of hand holds. And it's like a ladder.
Yeah.
You're just going upwards, and it doesn't matter which direction, or you don't have to use them all. You just use whatever is the most comfortable. And then as you like get higher in grades, you just get less holds, and they just get smaller
Or just weirder.
or just stranger. Yeah, and you just have to hold them in really strange, awkward positions.
I can't highlight enough how grateful I am that you are the person that's introducing me to this.
Yeah.
Because I went from when we went last time, which was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Went from like, I don't even feel comfortable going 10 feet off the ground with this to when I was trying to figure out how to get past the section that had defeated me the first time.
Yeah.
I was like kind of hopping and like just
Going for
letting the trust be in my belayer, which was you, letting the trust be in you and just go for it.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to have that feeling of like, I would never do this if it weren't for trusting the person who is holding me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just like in bouldering, like if you were to be bouldering where you're not attached to anything and you're thinking to yourself, you're like, okay, I could just fucking hop for it and go for this hold. But if I don't get it, I'm going to fall.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fall like this really long way. I might get injured. But in top rope, you don't have to worry about that. Because as long as like your belayer has taken in some slack for you, even if they haven't taken in some slack, you might fall a little bit and you might brush your knee against one of the holds, right? But like you can still go for that move confidently, knowing that like you're not just going to tumble down to the ground if you miss it.
Yeah.
And that is a powerful feeling. It's
It
just like,
is.
I can do it.
And it was so strange to go from just last time being like a 5'7", scary, to like I got through a 5'9".
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We'll have you up doing 513s with us in no time.
Yeah, I'm so
I said that.
stoked.
I don't do 513s.
No, if I ever get through a 10, I'll be stoked.
Ooh, see? And I remember talking to Eve recently where we were like, could you imagine telling 2015, 2016 Eve and Karina that we would be like confidently leading 510s in the gym?
Yeah.
And I would definitely have told you absolutely fucking not. No, couldn't
Yeah.
be me.
Now the next step is just me doing the belay test so that when we go just the two of us, you're not restricted to auto belay routes.
Hey, that's fine. I get a lot of work done on those auto belay routes. And you know what? Like, it's par for the course because I've also been doing a lot of rock climbing this week. I went on Sunday with Harrison. We decided to go as like a little date night. And after we were done, we also did I mostly did auto belay stuff, and he did a couple of like top ropes. But he bought shoes on the way out, like got some from online. And I was teaching him how to do his figure 8 knot, and he figured it out before I even finished the lesson.
That's so cool.
He even like dressed it nicely too. So I was like, okay, now I've got both you guys out of space where like you can pretty confidently tie your knot and know how to double check it. And now you just need to learn how to use the belay device, and like you'll be golden.
Yeah.
You won't have to pay the money to like take the belay test. You can just go in and be like, yeah, so I'm here to take a belay test. I just heard I had to take one in order to like, get
Yeah.
certified in the gym, and just get that out of the way because it's super easy.
And I'm already like, all right, how can I finagle finances to be able to get a membership?
One of these days.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that I've been doing besides rock climbing and like working and shit is I started a new book too, but it's an audiobook. I've been listening to Skeleton Crew by Stephen King because I got it on Libby, and I have been really liking it so far. It has so many stories in it. I could not name them all for you, but some of the ones that stand out to me are The Raft, The Jaunt, The Mist, and The Monkey.
I've heard The Monkey as the story is really cool. And then I heard the movie that just came out was actually killer.
That's what I heard too. That's why I rented it. That's why I rented it from the library, because I wanted to listen to The Monkey. And the first story that's on that book is The Mist. And so I was actually really excited. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I get to listen to The Mist too. And I got to tell you, one of my favorites on that so far is either The Raft or The Jaunt.
Ooh, okay.
Because The Raft, I remember watching the short like movie for that, because that's kind of about like 4 teenagers who they go to like a lake one day and they get on like this little wooden raft, and there's this like oil slick on the water that like if it touches them, it melts them and kills them.
Ooh.
And it's really fucking good. And the short story is really, really good. And so I really like that. I also really like The Jaunt. The Jaunt was like it was a movie. It was a story about a guy who was simultaneously telling the story about how he developed like space travel, like the ability to create portals.
Okay.
And like have a portal from one place to the other place. It was like the origin story of him creating that and trying to figure out the method to get that to work. And then at the same time, he and his family are on a plane and they're getting ready to go through a jaunt. He calls it a jaunt whenever you go from one portal to another. And so he's telling the story to his children about how he developed this technology while they're waiting for the staff to come by to like get them ready for their jaunt.
Ooh,
And it's
okay.
really, really cool the way that it tells these two stories in parallel.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. I think you'd like it a
Yeah.
lot. And I'm probably like 70% of the way through it so far.
I do like when Stephen King brushes into a sci-fi area. He does it really well.
Yeah, I found a lot of these stories I had never heard of before, and some of them are very short or have very like wild ideas to them. Not necessarily, they don't even necessarily go into supernatural territory or science fiction territory every time. And that's what I kind of liked about it. It's like every story was very, very different from the last one.
I like that. Yeah, and him going into like wild territory and stuff like that. I mean, Cosmic Space Turtle.
Yep. Belching up the universe. I actually don't know where Skeleton Crew comes into that timeline, but it must be afterwards. I don't remember when The Mist was written, but okay. Well, I think that's it for our podcast today.
That is.
All right. Well, have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. It's Karina. I'd like to tell you of a couple of announcements. We have got a Patreon now. You can subscribe at patreon.com/itsalwaysspooky. For $5 a month, we will be having some very special features, so stay tuned for those. Starting with every week, we'll be posting what episode we're planning on doing, so please make sure that you post your scariest and your favorite scenes so that we can feature them in the episode. If Patreon isn't your speed, you can also send us a tip on our Ko-fi account. That's kofi.com/itsalwaysspooky. Please, please, please also email us your spooky stories and any recommendations to itsalwaysspookypodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
It's always spooky.